You're listening to The Spooky Darlings, a podcast where three sisters get together and tell each other all kinds of crazy and spooky tales. I'm Nettie.
I'm Haley.
I'm Emily.
And today, Emily is taking the lead, and she's going to regale us with a tale of which Haley and I know very little about. I can't wait, though.
Okay, so this case was brought to me by a listener named Kim. She, knew this case personally. And I do want to give a trigger warning at the top of the episode. There is violence and sexual assault in this episode. So listen with care. So Kim contacted me, and she was a student at the University of Alaskan Fairbanks at the time that these events happened. This is the case of Sophie Sergie. I don't know if either of you have heard of it.
Mm-mm.
No.
So Kim's roommate was an Alaskan native named Francine Elia. And Francine's childhood friend was Sophie Sergie.
Okay.
And Sophie would come by and hang out while they were there. They were, same class, knew each other. Kim said that Sophie was just really, really sweet. Sophie and Francine, were childhood friends and were still very good friends, and they intentionally didn't room together so they could have their own separate experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So Sophie Sergie was born in 1972 in the very remote Yupik village called Pitkas Point in Alaska. It's near St. Mary's, which is another teeny tiny village. These two villages shared schools and buses. They had a gravel road that connected the two villages. It was just western Alaska on the lower Yukon River, near the Bering Sea. So it's very, very remote. You can't even get to it except by air travel, or sometimes when the water is right, you can get there by boat. So it's super duper remote.
Wow.
So these towns shared a school, though, and some amenities. They were dry villages, so the towns elected, because of the alcohol problems that they had, they elected to be dry villages starting in the 80s. But this brought in, along with it, a whole bunch of additional problems with bootleggers and crime and corruption and just that kind of stuff that always happens. So there were
the black market sort of deal.
Yes, for sure. So both of these girls were not strangers to tragedy. So Sophie, she's the main focus of this. She originally wanted to follow her older brother into the Navy, but because of her height, she was only 4'9". She was just a tiny little person.
Very small.
She was not eligible for the role that she wanted. So she shifted her focus and she applied to college at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks, and she got a full scholarship. She was widely described as bright, hardworking, ambitious. She was a first-generation college student in her family, and she decided she wanted to study marine biology because she loved whales. So at the University of Alaska, they have a program called Rural Student Services, and that's, just to help those students from the remote villages. And just to give you a picture of what life was like, these villages were kind of at a crossroads where they were gradually, and this was early 90s, they're gradually blending modern amenities with their way of life, which was subsistence living, like hunting, fishing, and they were also committed to cultural preservation. So it was just kind of this point where, cultures are merging almost in a way. And in the early 90s in these villages, there was no indoor plumbing. They didn't have water into or out of their houses.
Oh, yikes.
Holy cow.
They were carrying water in. Families were washing their hands in a basin that was being reused. And they had honey buckets, which were 5-gallon buckets that were collected and taken away for disposal. That was their sewage
Not
system.
actually full of honey.
Gross. Yes. Right. Not honey. So that's the situation.
Just to be clear, just so people know, honey buckets is
Yeah, they called them honey buckets. It was to take away sewage waste. Yeah.
Yes,
So wasn't that the name of the portable toilets at Brandy?
Those were called honey pots, not honey buckets.
Pots. Okay.
I don't know why everybody wants to use honey in that context. So anyway, it was not until there was a big project that started in 2004 and was completed in 2011. in those rural villages that brought
Oh, wow.
indoor plumbing to most of the homes in that area.
Holy cow.
Wow.
That feels so recent.
Yes.
It just feels crazy to not have indoor plumbing
Yes, exactly.
that recent.
So, this was early 90s, like 91, 92, 93. Sophie's going to school at the University of Alaska. So this program, the Rural Student Services, just helped bridge the gap between rural life and the big city life these kids were experiencing for the first time. And a lot of these kids were first generation college students. And so this rural student program is where Sophie met a really good friend, a young woman that became her really good friend named Shirley Wasuli. So in the school year of 1992 to 1993, Sophie had to take a leave of absence from school. She had a severe overbite and needed a lot of orthodontic work to help correct this. And to be able to afford it, her scholarship didn't cover this type of stuff. So she had to take a leave of absence. She went back to live in Pitcairn Point, which was her hometown, and she worked for the school district in St. Mary's, which was the adjacent town. And that gave her insurance and helped her save money to cover the rest of the work that she needed. But obviously there wasn't an orthodontist in this tiny town, so she was still flying back down to Fairbanks for her appointments. Mm-hmm. So she would stay with her friend Shirley that she met through Rural Student Services. Shirley had a single dorm room, like a single person. She didn't share it with a roommate dorm room. And it was on the second floor of a hall called Bartlett Hall. It was a girls-only floor. And Sophie would stay in Shirley's room, and then Shirley would just give her the key and go stay with her boyfriend the nights that Sophie was there. Mm-hmm. It was just the next building over, so Sophie could have her own room. So in 1989, University of Alaska and Fairbanks had some budget cuts, so there were not clerks manning the entry or exit points of the dorms. Nobody was really keeping track of who was coming and going. Everybody still had like a key that they were supposed to use to get in and out, but kids would prop the door or kids would follow other people in, and it just was not, security was not tight. Mm-hmm. So
Right.
there were 8 floors in Bartlett Hall, and it connected to 2 other halls, Moore and Scarland Hall, that shared a lobby. And in 1993, about 670 students were living in this complex of, 3 different halls of the dorm. And most floors, I think all floors were separated by gender. So the second floor that Shirley lived in, that she would let Sophie stay in when she was coming back for her appointments, was an all-girls floor.
Nice.
But there were, problems during this time. Bartlett Hall was known for being kind of a party hall. People said that even like off-duty soldiers from a nearby fort called Fort Wainwright would come there looking to party.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
In 1991, there was an attempted rape in Scarland Hall. Apparently, there was a female student who reported a sexual assault where 2 basketball players raped her while another one watched. And then also in February of 1993, a drunk naked man was arrested after being found in the women's bathroom on the 4th floor. So there were things were a little bit problematic, like security was clearly an issue. Mm-hmm. Also, in the bathrooms on each floor, the main light switch was outside the bathroom. So anybody walking by outside could flip the switch and plunge everybody inside into darkness. So
I hate that.
Oh, I hate that too.
I hate it too. So this was the state of security in Bartlett Hall. So April 24th, 1993, we're approaching finals week. Everybody's busy studying and fitting in their, actually like a lot of parties happen too in finals week. Like people are studying hard and they're partying hard because it's like their last week with their friends there before they all go back to wherever they're from. So Sophie's 20 years old at the time. She flew from Pitcairn Point to Bethel, then to Anchorage, then on to Fairbanks. So this was like a multi-leg trip to get to Fairbanks for her orthodontics appointment. So she would usually do some shopping while she was in the big city, stock up on stuff that she needed that wasn't available in the villages. Sophie shopped a little. Shirley, who, met her and wanted to hang out with her too, Shirley had a lot of studying to do. So they would meet up and do stuff, and then Sophie would go off with some of her other friends. She went and saw the movie Indian Summer. She went with friends to a recreation.
I remember that movie.
I didn't ever see it, but it was like a Canadian movie of friends getting together, I guess, like a kind of reunion. I don't know.
I don't think I ever heard of it.
Yeah, I just remember it from the old Blockbuster movie days.
Oh.
So she went with friends to a recreation area called the Murphy Dome, and this is where the last known picture was taken of her. She had her arms out. She was carefree. She was smiling. One thing you can't see in the picture, and this is something that Kim told me, was that her hair was down to her ankles.
Oh my gosh.
She was 4'9". So remember I said she was too short to join the Navy. She was 4'9", but her hair was all the way down to her ankles. She had a little bit of shorter cut, like layers in the front. So when her hair was pulled back, you couldn't tell.
Wow. That's a lot of hair.
But she's so cute. She looks so happy. And she's wearing her older brother's U.S. Navy sweatpants and a colorful Native American hoodie type sweatshirt with like a bomber jacket over the top. And I can send you guys that picture right now, actually, if you want me to.
Yes, please do.
So here she is. I'm going to send another couple pictures just so you guys can see, and then I can add them all to our socials. She's just a cute, sweet looking girl.
Oh, she is. Wow.
I just have one more picture of cute little Sophie with her braces, smiling.
Oh, she is cute. Oh, she has like that 80s hair.
Yeah,
Or like where you curl the bangs down and curl the bangs up.
yeah. So
Or is
this
it
was
a headband?
No, I think it's not a headband. I think it was early 90s and maybe, so that was just the fashion she chose for her hair at the time.
Oh, she's so cute.
She's adorable.
So she had fun with friends, was out to a movie, and then she came back around midnight to the dorm, and she hung out with Shirley Wasuli, the friend who she was staying in the dorm of, and Shirley's boyfriend, Noah. They ordered a pizza. They were hanging out. They were chatting. Sophie left for a few minutes to go grab a drink, and then she came back, and then a few minutes later, she was like, I kind of want to go smoke a cigarette. And April in Alaska is still pretty cold. So
Right.
Shirley was like, hey, like, these girls know cold. Like, they can handle the cold.
Yeah.
But Shirley was like, hey, if you don't want to go out in the cold, you can go into the bathroom. There was a stall. So the bathroom had 2 shower stalls. I'm actually, sorry, I'm just going to send you a picture, too, of the layout of the bathroom. There were 2 shower stalls and then actually a bathtub stall. It was not used very often, but it had a vent that vented to the outside. So everybody kind of knew you could go in there and you could smoke and it would just vent out so you wouldn't get in trouble. It wouldn't set off a fire alarm. So she was like,
Yeah, it was sort of like the workaround for all the kids that wanted to smoke and didn't want to go outside, and they all kind of secretly knew about it.
yes, exactly. So Shirley was like,
Yes.
if you don't want to go out in the cold, you can go in the bathtub stall. It'll vent out. So Sophie leaves, and Shirley and Noah hang out for a little while, but they were tired, and it got to be like 1:30. They didn't know if maybe Sophie like ran into somebody or something. So they left a note on the door for Sophie, like, hey, we went. And then they left. And as they were walking down the hall, Shirley, I think she said she passed 2 women and 1 man that she made eye contact with. And she'd never like clocked this man before, but she, he looked like the age of a student, but she, made eye contact with him. She didn't think much of it at the time, but
She
we'll
just
come back to this
kind of
later.
noticed him
Yeah.
that evening. Okay. Or
Yes.
that night.
So the next morning, Monday, April 26th, 1993, Shirley came back to her room in the morning just a little bit before 9 a.m. This is like 8:50. And she's like, well, this is weird. The note I left on the door is still on the door. And she went in the room. The bed was made as if it hadn't been slept in. The lights were on. The TV was on. And the room was not locked. And she was at first a little bit irritated. She's like, girl, you can't just like leave my room unlocked, my
Right.
stuff's in here. So she goes to the bathroom and she calls out, Sophie, are you in here? And she thought she heard a voice say, yeah, I'm here. And so she just goes about her day. She has to study. It's finals week. So she, just like does what she needs to do. But a few hours later, she still hasn't like seen or heard from Sophie. So she's getting increasingly uneasy. And this is not like Sophie. It's so unlike her to not be like responsible and connect with the person that is caring for them, So
Right.
So Shirley finally decided to call Sophie's orthodontist office. And that's when she found out that Sophie didn't show up for her orthodontist appointment. And that was her whole reason for coming to Fairbanks for that weekend.
Right. Yeah.
So this was super weird. So when Shirley comes back to the dorm, there are police everywhere. They're not letting people in. Shirley doesn't know what's going on, but she's like, hey, please, I can't find my friend. I just want to check if she's in the room, you know? So the police actually let her go up because they're kind of like, maybe this is connected to what's going on. And they reveal why they're there. They'd been called to Bartlett Hall because a janitor had made a shocking discovery.
Oh, no.
At 2:42 p.m. on April 26th, the janitors cleaning the east second floor bathroom found the body of a young woman that they were able, through Shirley's help with finding Sophie's ID, they were able to identify her as Sophie Sergie.
Sophie. Oh my gosh. Wait, was that the same bathroom that she was smoking in? Oh no.
Yes.
So she never came back from the
so
bathroom.
Shirley goes to her room, gets the purse that has Sophie's ID in it, and the police are like, okay, this is the identity of the girl that we found. So Sophie was found in the tub room, which was where Shirley had suggested that she go.
Did she go smoke?
It was a small separate room next to the shower stalls, and it had a shower type swinging door at the entrance of the room, but it was its own private separate room. And as you can imagine, this room wasn't used as much as the others. Like, most people weren't like going to go take a bath in the morning before.
Right.
Class.
I was going to say, I wonder how it took because it was in the afternoon the next day when her body was found. I was going to, I guess you're right. Like, why would people be taking a bath?
People had been in and out all morning and nobody had gone into the tub room.
Gosh.
So Sophie was found with dried blood and stab wounds on her face and body. Her hair and clothing were damp, leading investigators to believe that water had been run over her after her attack.
Oh.
Her shoes were still on. Her U.S. Navy sweatpants and underwear had been pulled down below her knees. Her shirt and bra were pulled up to her armpits. Her bra was up, revealing one of her breasts.
Oh, gosh, jeez.
There was no evidence of Sophie having actually smoked a cigarette in the tub room, but her cigarette lighter was found in the bathtub underneath her body.
Jeez.
Oh, my gosh.
So...
Oh, that's so terrible. And poor Shirley, she must feel like so terrible that she sent her friend.
I hope she knows that that's not something that she needs to feel responsible for. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that she carries a lot of things with her about this whole thing. So an autopsy determined that a gunshot wound to the back of her head is what killed her.
What?
Stab wounds had been inflicted both before and after death.
Oh my gosh.
There were abrasions and bruises indicating a struggle for her life, and a robust sample of semen from a single male was present in her vagina. But it's important to note that it was not present in her underwear or on her legs, indicating that she did not ever stand up after her assault.
Oh, no.
So there were also marks that looked like they could have been, she could have been choked with a ligature, as well as marks that looked like they could have been from a stun gun. So the ligature and the stun gun were reported in multiple outlets, but they were not included in the charging documents that we'll get to later. And I know I just kind of gave something away a little bit, that there were later charging documents, but...
Okay. So do we think that maybe the sexual assault happened after she was deceased?
I don't know. I don't know that that's the conclusion.
Okay.
The initial autopsy found a robust sample of semen, but they said that her genitalia was not abraded enough for them to be able to say with certainty that it was assault, but there was so much that came out of her after that it was clear that she was, I mean, you know what I mean? And then there were other experts that were coming and saying, like, not every victim of sexual assault has injury to their
I was going to say that, yeah.
That's true. It can totally depend also just like on where you're at in your cycle.
Yes, yes, for sure. And your cycle, I mean,
and sometimes you just comply. Like this, I hope to exit this situation with my life, so I'm going to just comply.
It's true.
So, I mean, there was also evidence that she'd been struck with, like she had blunt force trauma. So she'd been struck with a blunt object.
So very violent.
These are, so like multiple.
Everything was very violent.
Multiple weapons. The blunt object could have been the gun that was also used to shoot her, but that is multiple weapons used in this assault, like knife, potential stun gun, ligature gun.
Which I feel like means maybe more than one person present, but only one man raped her.
I wondered that, Haley. I mean, let's talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
I did definitely kind of like, So the bullet entered her head from the back. It did not exit. So that indicates that possibly she had her head pressed against a hard surface. The bullet was determined to be a .22 caliber, displaying 6 lands and grooves with a right-hand twist. And I do not know anything about ballistics. That's just what I read. The lead investigator at the time said whoever did this is very, very angry at women.
Ugh, sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, stab wounds before and after shooting her, that's anger.
Yeah. So,
Overkill.
like I said, students were in and out of the bathroom all morning before the body was discovered. And then once word spread on campus of what happened, students were shaken. Over 300 students gathered that Thursday for a memorial service with flowers and a traditional drum circle just to try to, like, honor Sophie in her life. Sophie Sergie was buried next to her grandmother in the Pitkas Point Cemetery. Her mother, Elena, said, quote, "For me, she's just away somewhere and she'll be coming home soon."
Oh, that's so sad.
So sad.
So in Fairbanks, Crime Stoppers put up a $20,000 reward for information leading to the perpetrator's arrest, but nothing ever came of that. And then eventually the reward they just kind of like took down the reward because nothing came of it.
I'm certainly not joking about this horrible crime, but I did just hear you say, Emily, perpetrator.
I meant perpetrator.
Sorry.
I heard it too, but I just wasn't going to acknowledge it.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't let it slide, and I love you.
Guys, perpetrator. Sorry. Okay, listen.
Perpetrator.
So, campus security starts offering escort services for people like going in between class and their residence halls just to try to make people feel safe, because this was a small town. People sent their kids to this small town college because of its safety.
Right.
But I mean, with all of the like incidents that you listed before this one, how safe was it really, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. So for the investigation, the timing could not have been worse because it was the last week of finals. So people were leaving. People were finishing up their tests and heading home to wherever they were from.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to do a campus lockdown and be like, sorry, until this investigation's done, like when people are...
yeah. So police did their best to question as many people and witnesses as they could, but it was kind of like a race against time. One female resident of Bartlett Hall said to the police that she had been in the shower of Bartlett Hall on the second floor around 1:30 a.m. She heard, she was in the shower stall that shared a wall with the tub room.
Yeah.
And she said that she heard noises, thumping, and muffled voices, and she thought that it was a couple meeting together in the bathroom to have privacy.
Yeah. I would probably assume that too.
Yeah.
You know, just college and...
Yeah. So another witness saw what she said was a white man with a darker complexion in a gray t-shirt leaving the second floor women's bathroom around that time. She picked 2 guys out of a lineup and both were cleared. But also, since the floors were separated by gender, it wasn't even uncommon for males to be using the female restroom because they just didn't want to go up to a different floor when they were visiting a girl on the girl floor.
yeah.
So the police had a few suspects, but they did their best to eliminate each of them with the limited DNA science that they had at the time. But remember, they didn't have a lot at the time.
Yeah.
But this case...
What year was this again?
93.
93.
So
okay.
the case started to go cold. So DNA evidence was new at the time. They knew to collect samples. They didn't quite have the capabilities that they do now. The FBI launched CODIS in 1990, but it was like only officially authorized by the DNA Identification Act of 1994, and then it wasn't even fully operational until 1998. So
Right. So they were kind of like there at the beginning stages and just... shoot.
Yeah, so CODIS wasn't a resource at all at that time. So, it, you know, like they were trying to make like a federal link for crime laboratories starting in 1998, but like in 1993, it wasn't. There just wasn't anything. So in April of 1995, Sophie's mother, Elena Sergie, filed a lawsuit against the University of Alaska. She filed for $4 million, basically arguing that University of Alaska Fairbanks failed to provide a reasonably safe dorm environment, failed to protect Sophie. There were warning signs that were missed. Budget cuts led to security lapses. And this lawsuit apparently frustrated police because it forced them to share documents that they hadn't wanted to make public because they were still trying to do the thing of like, you know, what you would or wouldn't know if you weren't there.
Right.
So a judge tried to, you know, put a gag order or something, and then they ended up settling outside of court. But in December 19th... Sorry, go ahead.
Like, I understand the police being frustrated, but it's also just like this poor young woman, no traction is being made on this case.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too, probably where like Sophie's mom wasn't getting answers and did that out of desperation, you know? So in December of 1996, investigators had the bright idea to take to the World Wide Web. And they put it on the World Wide Web, trying to let people, and they called it this, and they put it on the World Wide Web.
The World Wide Web, yes.
Al Gore's World Wide Web?
They did. So just to see if anybody had any information, this didn't really get them any leads, but this does remind us like where we were with technology at the time.
Right.
This was like a novel thing. They're like, should we try the World Wide Web?
There's this new thing I've heard of.
So
it's starting to catch on. It might not catch on. It did.
So again, it's kind of cold. So in May of 2000, there had been some advances in technology for DNA, and they ran the samples again. They ran it through CODIS, and they didn't get any DNA profile matches. And the investigators at the time were certain that whoever did this was probably going to, either they had already offended or would go on to reoffend because of the nature of the crime. So they were surprised that there was nothing in CODIS. So the case is cold again. 9 years later, we're in 2009. A new investigator takes on the case. His name is Stogsdale. And he just like put forth the theory that maybe the murder happened somewhere else and they took her to the bathroom. This theory was pretty much rejected, but he just was grasping at anything. He's like, what else can we look at?
Like, let's look at it from a different angle, which I think is a good thing to do in an investigation, but
yeah,
that doesn't seem to make sense.
It would have been too busy probably for anybody to get by in the hall with students coming and going with a body and get it into the bathroom.
Was he thinking like that the friend group did it and then moved her body?
That's not explicitly said. I'm not sure what he was thinking. He just
because it wouldn't line up with what the friend said about like suggesting she go smoke in that bathroom.
I think that he was really just trying to spin it any way that might generate answers. That's really what my opinion is. Like, he's just like, how can we look at this in another way?
Yeah.
To try to find something. In 2010, Stogsdale decided to re-interview a student who had been in the dorm at the time named Nicholas Dazer. And he had been interviewed in the initial round, but he realized or found out that not only did Nicholas Dazer stay in Bartlett Hall on the 3rd floor, he had been fired from his job as a campus security officer because he had a firearm.
Oh.
So at the time that he reached out to Nicholas Dazer in 2010, Dazer was working in Portland, Oregon as an attorney.
Oh my goodness.
So he had been living
close to home.
Yeah, he'd been living at the same time that Sophie was murdered in number 305, which was, just one floor above, with his friend and roommate Stephen Downs. Both Dazer and Downs were briefly interviewed in the initial investigation. They both, denied having any additional information. Dazer had worked security both Sunday and Monday, April 25th and 26th, which would be around the time that Sophie was attacked. And he even helped University Police and the Alaska State Troopers secure the crime scene. He was guarding a stairwell, trying to keep people out. He claims that he never entered the bathroom or saw the actual crime scene. So, as I said, he was fired from his security job because he, against the rules, had a gun on campus. But he was ruled out because his DNA did not match what they found at the crime scene.
Okay.
But he did tell the police that his roommate had 2 guns, an HR-22 and a Derringer.
Wait, and they said that the bullet was from a 22.
A 22, and I believe a Derringer also matches a 20. I don't understand guns, so I'm probably making myself sound like an idiot, but I think both of those guns could be matches.
Like a Derringer might fall under the 22 umbrella.
You now know more about guns than I do, and I think you sound really smart.
I'm nope. But again, okay, so shortly after this, and I don't know why in 2010 when this interview happened with...
Hold on, Nettie Googled something.
Oh, it's a Derringer is not a specific caliber, but a category of a small pocket-sized short-barreled pistols that are commonly chambered in a 22 caliber. So they can be a 22, but they're not always a 22. Now I know more than you. No, I'm the gun expert.
Yeah.
So Stogsdale retires shortly after this interview with Nicholas Dazer. So Kim, the listener who reached out and shared this case with me, told me that, she had thought about this case a lot over the years. It stuck with her, but it had been a while. I mean, this happened in 93, and we get to the year 2019, and she hadn't thought about it in a little while, and it came to her mind, and she couldn't shake it. She almost felt like she was, compelled to check if there was any update on the case. And she looked online, and there was an update. So
what was it?
What?
So it turns out in 2018, so remember, Stogsdale retired shortly after, I don't know when, but he interviewed Dazer in 2010. So there was a gap.
Okay.
2018,
so
investigator, I think he's nice. Investigator.
Oh, okay, we like Dazer.
Investigator Randy McFerrin had taken over the case. And you guys both know 2018 was a really exciting year for DNA advancements. This was a year that the Golden State Killer was identified through familial DNA.
Wow, yeah.
So,
Paul Holes.
yes. So they got the idea. They were like, okay, maybe we should try this. So the investigators decided to see if they could get a match through the same technique. So
Yes.
in this scenario, the DNA doesn't have to be in CODIS. They just have to take the DNA that they have and see if anybody
See if there's
in, any of those genealogical,
23andMe, yeah.
any of the
Because
familial DNA websites
As you said, it was a robust
sample.
deposit
Yeah.
of.
Yes.
They had, yeah.
So they just are checking to see if it matches anybody who has submitted their DNA to one of those genealogical databases. And if you want a really detailed breakdown, there is a podcast called DNA ID, and she did a 2-part on the Sophie Sergie case. I'll put that in our show notes too. But she talks a lot about like how they narrow things down and how they identify things. And it's beyond the scope of what I'm going to get into today. But basically, they were looking for that. So they contacted a special lab. I heard in one source that it was Parabon Labs, but I heard another one where it was a different one. So I didn't want to commit to claiming I know which one it was. But they submitted it to a special lab that does that kind of thing. They submitted the samples they had, and they hit a match. They found that a woman who had submitted DNA was a close relative of the person they were looking for. Specifically, it was a nephew or a grandson. So it's like a second degree something. So after determining that she had no known children, it couldn't be a grandson.
Okay.
They were able to zero in on a nephew. So her nephew was named Stephen H. Downs. He had attended...
was their roommate.
He had attended University of Alaska Fairbanks the same years, studying English. He had lived in Bartlett Hall on the 4th floor. He had been on the dean's list.
I hate him.
So he ended up getting a master's degree and then getting a nursing degree in 2011 and was living in Maine. He had no previous arrests, but he was unemployed at the time of this finding and had some complaints against him from female coworkers for problematic behavior, specifically making them uncomfortable, being a little bit rough with elderly patients in the care facility he worked in, handling medications inappropriately.
Okay.
I hate him.
So they're like, okay, this is probably our guy, but you can't just take that match from your sample against you have to get an actual sample.
Actual DNA
Yes.
from him.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So Alaska police start cooperating with Maine police. They put a wiretap on his phone. They start surveilling him for a little while they want to get a sneaky DNA, like, in the movies where he
gum or
Discarded.
sips from a straw.
yeah, he takes a sip of something, then throws it away. And this guy doesn't take his trash out for forever, which is gross, right?
Ew.
And then
disgusting.
they can't catch
What a
him
piece of
throwing
crap.
anything away. So they just approach him. On February 13th, 2019, Maine State Police contacted Stephen H. Downs at his house in Maine. They asked him about Sophie Sergie. He said he remembered that a girl had been murdered at his dorm, but he did not know her and had never been in contact with her.
Liar.
Police officers showed him a picture of Sophie. He said he recognized her from posters that had been put up around the time of the murder, but he reiterated he did not know her and had never been in contact with her. He said he lived on the 3rd floor of the dorm, but usually stayed with his girlfriend on the 4th floor of the dorm. He said he didn't think he'd ever even been on the 2nd floor of Bartlett Hall. And that the night of Sophie's attack, he had been in his girlfriend's room the whole evening. He repeatedly told detectives that he thought it was probably soldiers from Fort Wainwright that had done it because they were often in the building. He said that if he knew anything about Sophie's murder, he, quote, would have been forthright from the jump, unquote.
Huh.
Liar.
He said, quote, I never knew or saw anything to begin with, unquote. Before ending the interview, detectives again showed him the picture of Sophie, and he said, this one makes me so mad. He said, I remember the pictures. It's terrible. Poor girl. But he denied ever knowing her. So, on February 14th, 2019, a search warrant was executed to search his house and obtain is it buccal or buccal swab? B-U-C-C-A-L?
Buccal.
Buccal swab?
Buccal swab.
So Alaska police had already made arrangements with the Maine State Crime Lab for an immediate comparison. So they were able to confirm that his DNA profile matched. It was a perfect match for the profile of the DNA sample that they had developed from Sophie Sergie's vaginal swabs from the seminal fluid sample.
Yeah.
Kick him in the crotch, boys.
So they now have on record that he denied ever knowing her, which is important because you know how these go. Like, these guys will always be like, what? No, I wasn't there. And then when they find the DNA, they're like, oh, yeah, we had consensual sex, but then she was alive.
Now.
Yeah. So they have him already denying. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, so that's good detective work, I think. Mm-hmm. So February 15th, 2019, 47-year-old Stephen Downs was arrested, charged with first-degree murder, first-degree sexual assault in the slaying of 20-year-old Sophie Sergie.
Good.
In 1993 at the University of Alaska. So it took a few months. He kind of fought extradition at first. So it wasn't until August of 2019 that he was actually finally extradited to Alaska.
Wow, that much longer later.
And that, I mean, I think it's kind of complex, honestly.
6 months.
All of that stuff is pretty complex. But
Yeah.
so he was extradited by August of 2019, but by the time the trial would have normally been in full swing, COVID caused delays for everything.
Oh, gosh.
Of course it did.
COVID.
And Sophie's mom, Elena, passed away in 2021. So she knew that they had arrested somebody, and she knew that it was probably the guy, but she passed away before the trial took place. Mm-hmm. And this is the very first time ever that Alaska had used genealogical DNA
Really?
to prosecute somebody for a crime.
Wow.
So Stephen H. Downs' trial began January 12th, 2022. So this is like almost 30 years after the crime.
Gosh.
His defense claimed that he had an alibi, that he was with his girlfriend all night in a dorm room at a party. But the girlfriend, Kate Deschwinitz Lee is her name. She testified that he was with her a lot of the night, but not the entire night. And the reason she's so certain is because at the little gathering they were having, another guy tried to kiss her. And that would not have happened if he was there. And he would have remembered. Stephen definitely was not there to witness it.
Oh.
Wow.
Also, another girl who dated Stephen while he was at UAF, her name was Blue Moon Rosberry. She testified that he had a fixed blade knife, which most people don't really clock guns and knives and, you know, weapons in general in Alaska. It's pretty common, but she had a picture of the two of them together and he had the knife. So that's the main reason that she's like, oh, I remember that because he has this knife in the picture. So she testified that he had this fixed blade knife. Other college friends testified that he was nice. He was friendly. They never saw him do anything violent. Yeah, he had some weapons, but, you know, it's Alaska. Everybody's hunting. Everybody's fishing. The defense wanted to present evidence of 16 alternative suspects. The judge allowed 3. So these 3 were Nicholas Dazer, who we already talked about, and he was actually already cleared by DNA. He was cleared as the person who left his semen in her body.
Yeah.
There was another student named Gregory Thornton who was possibly seen leaving the bathroom where the body was found. He could have possibly been the one. And who also allegedly owned a gun. And then another man named Kenneth Moto, whose sister told police that he confessed to her. So let's talk about these 3.
Okay.
We already talked about Nicholas, the security guard connection, being fired for having a gun. DNA did not connect him to the scene.
But hold on. But she didn't stand up after the supposed assault, right? Because the semen was only inside of her, not on her thighs or legs.
Right. What's your question, though?
I mean, I guess I just feel like that's pretty clear of like, she didn't get up after.
Oh, you mean like, why are they presenting other?
Yeah.
I think basically it's the defense's job to try their best in any way they can to cast doubt. So anybody that could have potentially been a match for anything that any witness saw or whatever has to be brought into.
Yeah.
It's a good point, though.
But yeah, no, I'm right.
If I was
with
a
you, honey, on
prosecutor,
that.
I'd be like, but let us.
Yeah.
So like, so she fell asleep, like, and then somebody came in and murdered her, like Mr. Downs.
So
Yeah.
so Kenneth Moto, who was one of the three, he testified in the trial over Zoom from prison because he was serving time for a separate violent crime, unrelated. But he remembered being interviewed by investigators at the time, and he actually volunteered at the time to give a DNA sample. He said that he wanted to help with a Native girl's assault, and he didn't hesitate to give his DNA sample. But later, when he was watching like a cold case special on TV with his sister's name was Kern, he said something like, I was a suspect in that one, or I was there, or something like that. And Karen went and told
like I was
police.
there when that happened, yeah.
Karen told police that her brother had confessed.
Oh.
Now, Karen was deceased at the time of this trial, but that was...
So they couldn't question her.
They couldn't question her again, but that was Kenneth Moto's like response to that, but also his DNA cleared him from being the one who deposited the semen in Sophie Sergie. The other third alternate suspect was named Gregory Thornton. He lived on the 5th floor of Bartlett Hall, and his roommate, Reuben Leake, told police that Thornton was familiar with guns and had a .22 caliber pistol. Thornton was a white man with an olive complexion, matching the description of that witness that saw a man leaving the bathroom that night. Probably he...
Does Downs fit the olive complexion?
Not really. I mean, at the time that he was arrested, he was severely overweight. But at the time that he was on the campus when the attack of Sophie happened, he just looked kind of like a normal guy, like maybe with the potential for being overweight. But like he wasn't like, I don't know, he just like brown hair, brown eyes, like kind of normal looking.
Yeah, okay.
But that girl that saw the guy leaving the bathroom that night did pick out this Thornton guy out of a photo lineup, but the photo lineup didn't happen until 2004, which was over 10 years after. And she picked him out and one other guy, so it was a little bit of a flimsy...
Well, and maybe he was. Maybe he did leave the bathroom.
Well, exactly.
Maybe he just was using the bathroom.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe he was visiting another girl on that floor.
With just no idea that there was someone assaulted or being assaulted.
She wasn't found until like, what, 12 hours later?
Yeah.
Or more?
But Sophie's friend, Shirley, once she saw Stephen and saw a picture of what he looked like back then, she was pretty sure that he was the same man that she made eye contact with in the hallway as she was leaving the night that Sophie was murdered.
Oh, man.
The prosecutor, Jenna Greenstein, really wanted the jury to link the rape and the murder, you know, because the defense is always trying to separate the two, like as if, like Haley said, like it, as if there could have been consensual sex and then he left her fine. But what she said, she reminded the jury of how investigators found the semen in the victim. And she said, quote, "Not in her underwear, not on her thighs, just her vagina, because dead women don't stand up."
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So sad.
Sophie's older brother, Alexei Sergie, said, "With DNA, I'm pretty sure it's the right guy. Nowadays, DNA won't lie to you." He also said, "My religion, you know, I'm Russian Orthodox. You're supposed to pray for all your enemies, to forgive them for everything. I forgave him for what he did, but I will never forget." So February 10th of 2022, 29 years after Sophie Sergie was murdered in Bartlett Hall, Stephen H. Downs was found guilty of the rape and murder of Sophie Sergie. He was sentenced to 75 years in prison.
Okay.
They
Good.
immediately tried to ask for a retrial, which was denied. But in April 2025, they tried to appeal his conviction. And the Alaska Court of Appeals heard oral arguments. They said that they would issue a written opinion, like an answer, on a later date. So Stephen Downs' attorney claimed that the search of the genealogical database without a warrant violated Downs and his relatives' right to privacy and should be subject to constitutional oversight. I know. Give me 1 second, Haley. I think I'm going to say what you're about to say. So,
Haley's mad.
yeah. The Assistant Attorney General, Diane Wendlandt, who represented the state, basically said, the whole point of these websites is to compare and match familial DNA profiles. And the real zinger that she said, there is no reasonable expectation of privacy of DNA that is left at a crime scene.
Thank you.
I agree.
I agree too. So in Alaska, a decision after an oral argument can take anywhere from a few months to a few years, and we're still waiting on that decision. And it's been over a year.
Well, hopefully we'll have an update.
Yeah, I will be
In a
watching
future
for this
episode.
one. I guess we need to set our news alerts, but
Yeah.
there's just there's not like a timeline for it.
Yeah. Your friend might have her news alerts. She might know before you and let you know.
Yeah, I wonder. We'll
Maybe.
have to ask. In Fairbanks, Alaska, there's now an annual gathering of remembrance. It was first started around 2007, centered on Sophie's unsolved murder, but it evolved into an annual rally that includes all unsolved homicide and missing persons cases in the Fairbanks area. So they hold signs and they say the names of the missing and murdered in the area. And they sing. I don't know why I'm crying.
It's
I'm
a lot.
tearing up too. It's really emotional.
They sing and they do traditional drum circles and they pray and they throw flowers into the river to honor the people that are
beautiful.
missing and to say their names.
That's really lovely.
Really
So
beautiful.
that is the story, the tragic story that I'm so glad had an ending of Sophie Sergie. What do you guys think?
Oh my gosh, Emily.
Well, I think Downs is 100% guilty, and I'm glad that they caught him. And I mean, I hope that he had a little bit of fear. I hope that there had been enough of the familial DNA happening that he was a little bit like, oh.
I hope he lived in fear
Yeah.
because he got to live 25 years
Yeah.
just as a free man who did this horrible, horrible thing. And I don't care if he didn't do anything else again or whatever. Obviously he was making his female coworkers uncomfortable.
I'd be curious if he did
And-
more. I wonder if there is a trail.
that is
Exactly.
It does. That is something that I think about a little bit. I don't question that he's guilty. I do wonder if anybody else was involved because the number of weapons was so excessive. And for him to
He
be
might have just been one of those guys, the type
Yeah,
that
I
just
do.
have so many weapons. It's almost like they open up their jacket and they're like, here's my taser and here's my daggers. And
You're right, and it's
Yeah.
not something that we need to try to do to make sense of somebody that's going to do that anyway. We don't. There's no way, any way they think will ever make sense to any of us. So you're right. Maybe he just had all of that and used every single weapon that he had on her. I
don't know.
I do wonder if another man or two was also there.
Yeah. I think there was at least one other person there.
Yeah.
And poor Sophie, she's just trying to live her life. And
But don't you think that Downs would have tried to blame it on the other person
I don't know.
had there been another person there?
Sometimes there's just that I hate this term, but sometimes there's that bro code,
I don't know. I
that's
think about
true.
that every time people try to throw shade on the Brian Koberger conviction when people are so certain that it was somebody else or something else or more people. Or
someone else was there. Yeah.
I'm like, that wimp would have folded so long ago if there was another person to blame it on. But, I don't know.
That's how I feel too.
We can't make sense of these things. That's the thing. It's Such a nonsensical thing to do, to take somebody else's life and to hurt somebody else.
Yeah, which is why we talk about it.
Yeah.
Which is why we talk about these cases. And I think that, you know, it's good to honor Sophie.
Yeah.
And
Just don't
Emily, I think you did a really wonderful job of talking about it. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I just don't understand this hatred that some men have for women and like why it's like, I understand having hatred for another person who has wronged you, but just men who just hate women and you can't seem to figure out why. Like it just seems so common.
Like that incel culture
Yeah.
thing.
The thing, I mean,
It blows my mind.
It's weird because this guy had a pretty girlfriend and he had another pretty girlfriend after her. And it's like he doesn't fit that incel, aside from, you know, the shit that he did, apparently. Like,
Yeah. But you can have a pretty girlfriend and still hate women.
yes, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. And I guess
There's a-
he must have had just like such a mask for everybody around him to
Right.
think that he was
Well,
a
and
nice, charming guy and not
Women
be.
will put up with bad treatment from men because, you know, they especially, and I feel like it's fixing itself a little bit, but with the rhetoric of he's mean to you because he likes you.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I hate
You know,
that.
we were
Yeah.
raised with. And so, it's like you kind of wonder, like, how do these guys that are so awful get these pretty girlfriends? And sometimes it is actually because they're psychologically abusive to these women.
Yeah, we
that the women
condition
stick
girls to put
around.
up with so much shit, and it's just we gotta be better. We gotta teach our girls better.
We're doing
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Doing it.
One TikTok at a time. Keep
Yes.
sharing them.
Send them to our chat
Perfect.
called Girl Party. It's how we
Girl
Yeah.
party.
saving the world.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, Emily,
I'm
what
glad
a
that-
tragic case.
I'm glad that guy went down. I'm glad that he got the justice that he deserved.
Yeah, me too.
And he got 75 years. Like, so good. You're never going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
You dumbass.
Yes, and then I really hope, because I know that Alaska is known for like I don't know, it's kind of like a state that prioritizes like privacy and being able to disappear. So I hope that they don't side with that right to privacy part of the genealogy. And I wonder if the reason the courts are taking so long is because it is one of those that will set a precedent. And they're just being so
Right.
careful, because if they do come back with that, there will have to either be a retrial or like reconsidering evidence or something, which,
Right.
you know, I mean, I'm hoping that that isn't where it goes, but that's just something that
Right.
could happen.
I think the argument of leaving your DNA at a crime scene is not a right to privacy,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
it's
That you lose the right
what'd
to
you say?
privacy.
You
Yeah.
lose the yes. I
Yeah.
think that'll stand.
I hope so. I really
Yeah,
hope so.
I think
Yeah.
so too. I don't know. I'd be curious
But
to
the
read
courts-
the wording of.
Courts surprise you these days. What were you saying, Nettie?
I'd be curious to read the wording of like the genetic websites when you submit your DNA. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know, but I'd be curious to actually read it. Like, is there an underlying thing saying that they can?
Well, Jordan
Release.
refused to do it because of the way that it's worded. I mean, even back like 15 years ago, he was like,
I remember.
They're very clear in here that they can sell this to anybody they want.
Yeah.
Like to insurance. That was his worry at the time. It wasn't about murder because of our, you know, our life code, but
Because Jordan's not a murderer.
we're not murderers.
You're not nervous about your husband, Emily?
No, but it was more
But it
about
was
like
because-
selling your genetic predispositions to an insurance company and them being able to like exclude you
Deny.
from coverage because it's a pre-existing condition. That was what he was more
Yeah.
worried about.
Understandable.
Jason was worried
honestly.
about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, it's just so tragic.
It just got real flushed because I was stressed and emotional.
Well, yes, it's a stressful and emotional topic.
I
You
know.
did
You
such
guys,
a good job.
thanks. This
Emily.
was a hard one. Like it just was so
Yeah.
heavy. It was hard for me
Yeah.
to want to do it.
Yeah, I could tell. I know how hard it is. It does take a toll on you when you're researching these things.
Yeah.
Violent death after violent death, it takes a toll.
You did a really good job, Emily.
Thanks, sisters.
Yeah, I'd never
Gosh.
heard anything about that. Thanks for reporting it.
I'm glad Sophie got justice, and of course, no one deserves to be treated that way. And just teaching people, I think that, and this is, we all know this, like, but talking more about the perpetrator and how that should not be done to people.
Yeah.
Because, there's that culture of like, well, what was she wearing? Type of culture. And
for sure. I mean, she was
doesn't
wearing
matter.
her
It
older
does
brother's
not
navy
matter.
sweatpants and a Native American style colorful hoodie. So, like, fuck anybody that tries to say she was wearing anything inappropriate.
Exactly. And like, even when women are wearing things that are considered revealing or whatever, that is still not a pass. And I know that we know this.
But we're trying to unlearn our horrible brainwashing, but
yeah. So, and it's been said to me, well, were you drinking? And stuff like that. Like, just getting away from that culture and just putting the complete blame on people who perpetrate against others in a violent manner, I just, it's important to talk about that too. So
yeah.
Good job, Emmy. I love you so much.
I love you. I love you guys.
And if that sounds stupid, take it out.
I didn't think it sounded stupid, but I will.
Yeah.
If on playback it does.
Okay.
But I doubt it will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just suddenly felt really dumb for talking about that. So
Don't feel dumb. I think you're
No, I'm
wonderful.
just thinking about it. It's a good thing to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you've said before, Emily, it's, good to keep talking about these things.
Yeah, it is. So, who wants to take us out?
I'll take us out. Thank you for listening. Once again, we are the Spooky Darlings, and you can find us on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube at the Spooky Darlings Podcast. And if you want to reach out to us and tell us your story, is it spooky? Is it funny? Is it complicated? We want to hear it at thespookydarlings@gmail.com. You can find our merch, cardigans, totes, hats, t-shirts at thespookydarlings.printful.me. And we'll see you later.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
5 stars.
Yes.